Hi, my name is Christian Alvarado. If you have not gone to any of these sessions before, I am the manager of peer learning for the Children in Nature Network. So shortly we're going to be joined by our speakers, Chris Obi, who's a program manager of Generation Wild at Great Outdoors Colorado. Mary Palumbo is a Pathways program manager at Get Outdoors Leadville. Brian Ravelis is Get Outdoors Leadville lead, Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Deputy Director, as well as Jess Finnegan, who's the Executive Director of the Nature Connection. I'm very excited to have you all here today. We have a lot of great content, a lot of stories about the great work happening in community in Colorado. You are here at the Expanding Equitable Nature Access through Youth Employment and Programs event. This event is in support of the Nature Everywhere Communities Action Challenge, it's a national initiative to increase equitable access to nature in 100 communities by 2025. We'll talk about that a little bit more after our stories from our guest speakers. As a reminder, we're recording this event. There is closed captioning available if you need that. And the chat is enabled for all attendees. You can comment throughout the session. You can stay and lurk. If you've ever been on Twitch, people like to say that they're lurking, that they're supporting, but they may not be chatting. That's also fine. You may also type your questions in the chat during the session. And we'll be answering questions throughout the session, as well as during the Q&A space for anyone that we miss. Let's see. All right, so we can move forward. I want to start by respectfully acknowledging that I'm joining you today from the unceded land of the Tungus, Quinnipiac, and Wapingur peoples who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. We invite you to share the Indigenous land history of your location in the chat. And if you're not familiar with the history of your location, you can learn about Indigenous territories and land with Native Land Map at native-land.ca. So in addition to land acknowledgements, here are a few ways that you can support Indigenous causes and Indigenous people every day. Learn about Indigenous homelands you're on and normalize land acknowledgements. Educate yourself on Indigenous issues. Amplify Indigenous social media accounts to reshare and amplify Indigenous voices year-round, as well as support Indigenous causes and businesses. All right, so we've got started on this session. I'd love to know more about who's here in the chat. Introduce yourself. What is your name? What are your pronouns? What is your location or native land? And let me know what's a characteristic of a community that is inclusive. That could be one word, that could be one sentence. Let me know what that is, and I'd love to see that in the chat. We'll leave this slide up just for a second, just to give you guys a little bit of time. Martin, thank you for joining us. All right. All right, so I'm going to move forward to the agenda. So this is what we have on board today. We have some details on the Children in Nature Connector actions, which are the two actions really that we're focusing on today on this session. We'll have some great guest speakers coming from GOCO's Gen Wild Coalition, and they're going to share about all the community work that they're doing, as well as some time for Q&A. You can ask me questions, you can ask our speakers questions, or if you have any questions about just, the action challenge in general. We'll talk about kind of what recognition you could receive for doing this kind of work in your community. And then we'll just close it out with a survey. All right. So time spent in nature as a child, particularly in activities and places that evoke emotional connection, can foster care and concern for the natural world. Both free play in nature and experiencing nature with a caring adult facilitate such a connection. Spending time in nature creates nature champions. Many of you know this, and we've seen this result in our communities. These experiences can enhance positive attitudes towards the environment, encourage children to learn about environmental problems and solutions, and take actions that demonstrate care for the earth. An added bonus, children who are strongly connected to nature tend to have better mental health and satisfaction with life. And that's, one of our values at Children Nature Network is that we are an evidence-based organization. And we know how important it is to have a need to make the case in your communities. So our staff actually developed a benefits of nature toolkit that provides just that. There's this toolkit that will help you access research and other resources to make the case for equitable access to nature. So if you're looking for evidence-based talking points, infographics, or want to dig deeper into our research digest or research library, you can do that straight from our research benefits of nature toolkit. And then we're linking that in the chat as well. All right. I saw a few other comments. All right. Aaron's here. Dr. Matt is here. Malda's here. Devin, Chris, thank you all for being here and in the chat and engaging with us. I really appreciate seeing some of this in the chat and sharing where you're joining us from. Ashley is here. Thank you so much. All right. So, becoming a Nature Everywhere community through the Action Challenge includes Children in Nature Connector actions. So these actions are really great first steps in helping community teams understanding the types of projects that can lead to equitable access to nature. But we can't forget the important step of kind of building your team or your coalition. And some of the previous events that we've actually had already discuss some of that coalition building. Something like partnering with a BIPOC-led organization, conducting a landscape scan, thinking about what's already available in your community and what might be missing, convening stakeholders and youth to incorporate their voices into creating a vision. All of these actions are very important, and they're based on some of our prior experiences working with communities that really put them in the position to make equitable impact in their communities. And so today's event is really going to showcase these two strategies here on the screen on getting more children and youth outdoors. So there's dedicating positions in your youth summer employment program to expanding nature connections. And then there's expanding summer or after school nature connection programs with a focus on equity, ensuring children of color or those experiencing poverty or other barriers have access to nature programs. Very, very important in general, but I think very important in the time that we're kind of experiencing today. And I would love to know more about your communities currently and what they offer. So I'm going to put up a quick poll if you'd like to respond to that and let us kind of know where you are with your community work. So here is the poll. You all should be seeing that now. So does your community currently dedicate your youth employment positions or to expanding nature connections or offer equitable summer and after school nature programs? So yes, do you have both? Yes, you only do youth employment opportunities. Yes, but only equitable summer after school nature programs. No, but we're interested in starting, and then you're not sure. So let us know. I'll leave that up for a few more seconds. All right. So I'm gonna, looks like people are still answering, so I'll just give it another second or so. I love to see that even though there's a no on these, or the biggest amount is no, a lot of you are very interested in this, and that's why you're here. So we're gonna get some good information your way, and then there's always opportunity to follow up with us if you'd like to know some more information. All right, so I'm going to end the poll and then share these results. So it looks like we have 25% of you that say yes, you have both. That's amazing. I'm happy to hear that, and I'm glad that you're connected to kind of know what's available in the community. I'm also seeing yes, but there's only equitable summer after school and nature programs. Also great, that's 17%. This large number here is a 42%, almost half of you saying no, but you're interested in starting these programs. You're at the right place. You're going to learn some great things today. And then the 17%, I'm not sure. Well, use this opportunity when you're thinking about what's available in your community. Like potentially doing a landscape scan, just thinking about what's available. We have an awesome guide on that on our website to kind of give you an idea as to what you should be looking for, and also like seeing what's available, who you can partner with, or seeing what's missing and what you should be starting to look into putting together in your community. All right. All right. Lee, thank you for joining us. Caroline as well. Thank you. Thank you for using the chat to share. All right. Whoops. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. That's definitely not in the right space. Let me move that out of the way. Just a second. We have so many slides that we're trying to get through, so give me a moment. All right. So thank you for answering the poll. I definitely appreciate you all sharing, engaging in the chat, also engaging in the poll. All right, I'm happy to introduce one of our first speakers here. So Chris Obi is going to be joining us. He's the program officer of Generation Wild at Great Outdoors Colorado. Chris is going to give us some background on Gen Wild and the work in Colorado. Thank you for joining us, Chris.
Thanks so much, Christian. Thanks, everybody, for having me here today. It's great to see some familiar names in Colorado and also across the country here attending. So, Generation Wild is a part of Great Outdoors Colorado. Next slide, please. And our mission at Great Outdoors Colorado is to preserve, protect, and enhance and manage the state's wildlife park, river, trail, and open space heritage. We do that through competitive grant programs to build trails, playgrounds, parks, protect open space all across the state of Colorado, all by investing a portion of the lottery proceeds. And our board realized over almost 10 years ago now that we were building all these great places, but not quite seeing young people, new faces, people getting outdoors. And so Generation Wild, next slide, please, was created as a movement across the whole state to inspire the next generation to get outdoors, especially those from overlooked communities, communities that have been historically overlooked when it has come to outdoor recreation and access to nature. And so we do this through a network of communities across the state and also the power of GOCO. Next slide, please. So we have Great Outdoors Colorado as the funder and the power behind the movement in the state. And then we have kind of sister programs. We have our communications campaign, which spreads the message about nature access and it's important. And then we have our grant program, which is where our communities come in. So we have 12 current communities across the state that are doing outdoor programs for youth and families, and we have 4 communities that are actively planning on becoming future Generation Wild communities. And within all those networks, there's over 250 partners across the state that are working in their communities to get kids and families outdoors. Next slide, please. So, with this impact over the last 10 years, over 7,600 programs have been delivered across the state with over 270,000 program participants. We can't track unique participants, so that could be one kid going 270,000 times to a program, but we know that there are tens of thousands of kids and families involved across the state. And along with programs, we have what we call pathways, which are job employment opportunities for youth. And over the last 10 years, over 3,300 paid pathway positions were created in the 12 Generation Wild communities. Next slide, please. So this is an overlook of the state and where the Generation Wild communities all exist. The yellow dots are the new communities that are working on their planning to figure out what they're going to do. And then the red dots are all the current 12 communities. And they are tasked with creating a diverse portfolio of ongoing programs that build opportunities for youth and families to get outdoors from the backyard to the backcountry, but also provide jobs, internships, and leadership development opportunities and trainings for youth. So really excited to be here today and to have you hear from the Generation Wild communities.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. I think it's just great to see how things have expanded, and how your growth has been going. And uh, as we were looking at things on how to spotlight Gen Wild, and like we have a lot of similarities with how our mapping system works. I love how yours is like in those different colors and how it looks like a little splotch, like the logo that you guys have. And just appreciate you all being here and giving us the opportunity to showcase your communities. Um, all right, so let's see. Um, all right, so we can definitely start by introducing one of those communities that Chris had mentioned. I definitely would like to introduce Get Outdoors Leadville. So our speakers are going to be Mary Palumbo, Pathways Program Manager at Get Outdoors Leadville, and then Brian Ravelis, who's the lead Get Outdoors Leadville at Get Outdoors Leadville, as well as Deputy Director of Parks, Recreation, and Open Space. Thank you for joining us both. Tell us a bit about the work that's happening Get Outdoors Leadville.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Palumbo. I'm the Pathways Program Manager at Get Outdoors Leadville. And our mission is really to deepen our community's connection to the natural world by expanding equitable access to culturally informed and enriching outdoor experiences. And we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. So we've been doing this work for almost a decade now, which is really exciting. And we're one of the Gen Wild communities. Um, Next slide, please. So our Youth Pathways program really exists to create leadership opportunities and development for Lake County youth. And we have three kind of big areas that we work with. We have our Mentored Employment Program, which is a 6-week program open to 15 to 18-year-olds in the summer. And we kind of overlay that on top of our summer camp. And so we hire 12 high schoolers to be assistant crew leaders and role models for our younger kids. So that's our employment. We have school-based programs that really help us begin to build relationships with our school district, our teachers, our students throughout their life. So from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade, we're taking kids for outdoor adventure and outdoor leadership field trips as part of their school day and start to kind of build those leadership skills ongoing. And then we also have dual enrollment courses that we partner with our local community college and our local high school to support students in accessing both college and high school credit. And we support wilderness experience. You can see an image of students here in the canyons of Utah. So that's a supported program to introduce kids to outdoor leadership skills, and they end with a backpacking trip in Utah. So we support that program as well. Next slide, please. So why create a Pathways program? There's lots of incredible benefits, but really within our community, first of all, youth asked for it. So we did a year-long community study, just figuring out what are the needs and how do people want to connect with the outdoors. And one big area was access to like employment and internships and building opportunities. So in addition to youth voice. Really, in the last several years, we've had several community spaces closed down. So our bowling alley, our pool, our movie theater have all shut their doors within the last like 5 to 10 years. And so we really want to create spaces where youth can gather and connect with their community and with each other. Our workforce is changing. We're really shifting as a community, as a rural mountain town, to be more tourism based. So we want to make sure kids have access to these local jobs and have the training and skills they need to get those positions. And then we also really want to make sure that we're training the next generation of leaders and growing our leaders within. And so making sure we can create leaders and community role models who reflect our community as well. Next slide, please. There's 4 kind of keys to how we approach our youth employment that I'm just going to go through kind of quickly because I realized I have like way too many slides and not enough time. But the first one is really building in skills and experience. So I think about our employment as really a cross between a job and a program. We're offering opportunities for kids to participate in things that they haven't already done so, while also getting paid and getting that leadership resume building. So we coach them with a lot of first job skills. We do supported interviews where we're kind of coaching kids as they're getting that introduction to how to have that interview conversation. And we essentially spend an entire week doing that leadership development as paid professional development before they're working with their summer campers. So we have them take a wilderness first aid course. We do a ropes course to really set the foundation for our summer. And we also take them on some outings such as rafting and biking and camping. And we really lean into peer groups as like that safe space for this age group, right? Like learning in a peer group is really important for high schoolers. So we make sure to really focus in on creating this like solid cohort that they can try new things together and like lean into each other. Next slide. Trusted adult relationships. So we really leverage our partnerships both with local schools. So we find like who are the teachers and our connectors within the school that can help us recruit students and who have relationships and who have been working with them on their career pathways and like where they need to get opportunity. We really fold mentoring into the experience. So the youth leaders are paired with 2 adult crew leaders. So they work in this really beautiful like triad of leaders. And so they have this built-in mentorship within their workday. They're working alongside often teachers who are just getting a summer job with us. So they have relationships and can form these really beautiful like connections outside of the classroom that then kind of benefits them when they're back at school as well. We train our staff and make sure they know like in order to work with us you need to be open to doing some mentoring and coaching with our young people, so we make sure that they know that's part of like what we're doing here. And also family relationships, because a lot of our youth leaders were once campers. We've already had quite a few years to get to know their families and to have those trusted relationships to build upon to really help students succeed. Next slide, please. Community connected work. So one thing we found that's really powerful is having kids be a part of addressing a community need. And for us, that's childcare. So we provide childcare for about 150 children each summer. And so we empower kids to be a part of that solution of providing kids a safe place to be. And often we have kids reflecting on like, yeah, when I was a kid, this was the place I came to, and it was a safe place for me to be with my friends. And so it's a really neat kind of investment in what they received as a child too, and just exposure to role modeling opportunities. We have kids saying like, "Oh my gosh, little Juan like came up to me at Safeway and came up and gave me a hug, and like that felt so good. So I think investing in places where kids can feel valued and important, and make sure we set them up and kind of name that as like, this is what you're doing, you're role modeling, you are really valued by the kids in our community. Next slide. And then the last one really is intentional culture. So we invest a lot in creating that team culture. Like I said, we actually have 2 full weeks of training. Um, we used to just have one, and the kids would kind of enter the space with like 30 other adult leaders, and it was really overwhelming. So we decided to pull back a bit and create this full week that's just for the high schoolers. And it's a really neat space for them to just kind of get their bearings, like create this positive peer group where they can learn how to trust each other and create this anchor that we actually refer back to throughout the summer. So every week we have team time where we just get together and do something fun and share stories and talk about what we might need support with. Um, and then also we make it really clear during our staff training, like we celebrate kids speaking Spanish at our camp, and like you should also feel empowered to do that and leverage that skill that you have to connect with kids, and make sure that we're celebrating culture as well. Next slide, please. So that's a lot of investment, but there are incredible benefits for investing in our young people and doing the legwork to get them the support they need. Um, we can create just a whole cohort of role models who share our participants' lived experiences and can share culture and language in ways that perhaps I can't or other leaders can't. So we really want to just put these kids in leadership positions so that we create a more culturally relevant space for all our participants. And we get a lot of feedback from these kids. So these are kids who have been with us since kindergarten in some cases. And so they have a lot of insight of how we can make things better, because they were a camper once and now they're a leader. So they've kind of gotten to see the whole gamut of how we run things. Um, and just last year, one of the coolest outcomes for me was I had my past participants recruiting for me. So we had built so much trust and like empowerment that they were sending me their friends' kids' names and all kinds of stuff. So I think like once the pathway has some time to grow and to thrive, like they will become your leaders and recruiters and kind of help run the whole thing, which is a really cool outcome. Next slide. So one quick example, this is Obed and Nate. They're two of our pathway kids. They went all the way through the pathways. So they were former campers, assistant crew leaders, and then they both now have jobs working at a local organization serving youth and at our local school. So it's just amazing to see this return on investment of we have played a small part in helping these leaders essentially invest back in their community, right? They're now like working, serving the next generation. Um, I'm sure I'm almost at time, but I have one more slide I just want to share. Just a quick like nuts and bolts to get you all started. Here are just 6 kind of keys to getting things rolling. If you're like, I want to start, yes, I'm sold. Find your connectors. So figure out who in your community has those relationships already. You don't have to start from scratch. So is it a teacher, a school counselor, a partner organization, DHS? Like who can connect you to young people who could benefit from this experience? Build on what you already have. So we already had a summer camp, so that's where we put our employment program, so that we could create this continuum of experience, right, where kids could grow up into leadership. Support your hiring process. Don't expect the kids that you want to serve to just like, pull up their bootstraps and write a resume for the first time. Like make sure you're partnering with school counselors and with other folks who can connect kids to resources, come do their interviews at their school, all that stuff. So just make sure that's a supported process and we're making that equitable. Make sure you front load team building experiences and don't be afraid to invest in, okay, you're being paid to go rafting and this is what needs to happen to build the confidence to thrive in our program. And building in feedback loops. So Erin Allman actually helped us put together a fantastic evaluation process. And part of that is just having a listening session at the end of each summer. And we get so much incredible feedback that actually impacts the way we do our programs in the future. And I'll stop there because I know I probably went way over. I apologize, but thank you so much.
Not at all. I definitely appreciate that, Mary. And I think this story like has a close tie to mine because I am here in this position because of a program that I joined in high school and I wasn't aware of like going on hikes and what that meant and doing community service and having an opportunity for having like a youth employment role. And I also did the same thing, right? Like I started in high school and became a certified leader with the Sierra Club, and then I joined the Natural Leaders Network, which was a program that Children Nature Network had over 10 years ago. And because of all those mentors and all the people that connected me to my community and kind of just brought me into the right space, I am here talking to you today, right? So that's kind of one of those impacts that that you know that is the outcome of the work that you're doing. So thank you for sharing that and being here with us. It's great. I love hearing these stories. So thank you. All right. So next we do have one more community. Um, so we have another Generation Wild community joining us, and that is going to be the Nature Connection. So joining us is Jess Finnegan, who's the executive director of the Nature Connection. Thank you for joining us, Jess. Tell us a bit about the Nature Connection.
Thanks for having me. You can go to the next slide. So we serve Delta County and Olathe, which is in the western part of Colorado. We're a really rural community, only about 35,000 residents, and we're really low income as well. We've historically been a coal mining community, and a number of those mines have shut down in the past 10 years. So our Pathways program has really come in to fill a lot of those gaps in a changing economy. Our community has been shaped, its mission, its vision, its focus by input and surveys from the community, both in 2017 and in 2020. And we're about to embark on another strategic plan just to make sure we're still meeting those community needs and addressing any gaps in access in the outdoors. You can go to the next slide. So our mission is to break down the barriers in getting outside for kids and families. And we do this in 3 ways: pathways, programs, and places. And each one of these legs in this stool is really supporting the other. And I'll get into a little bit more detail in these areas, but you can see here we've got a couple kiddos on bikes as part of our Learn to Bike program. We teach all the K through 2nd graders how to ride bikes as part of their gym class. And then in 3rd grade, they graduate to a field trip where they're mountain biking on trails. And we build beginner-friendly hiking, biking trails when we can, adjacent to schools, but in each of the municipalities that we serve. And then we employ interns who maintain this fleet of bikes for us. So really there's connection, and we couldn't be doing one thing without the other. And you can advance the slides. So we offer K through 9 programs at all of the elementary, middle, and high schools. So we're reaching every kid, and this is really a way that we make the outdoors accessible, is that we reach them during their school day. And they do all the things: biking, rafting, archery, stand-up paddleboarding, climbing, everything. And we also have a robust Gear to Go program. So we're encouraging teachers to get outside with their classrooms. And we like to say, like, it doesn't have to be epic. One of our One of our most popular items are Crazy Creek chairs, just to use to go sit outside and read. So that's during the school year. And then in the summer, we have camps for 4 to 14-year-olds. And we make sure these are accessible by having a really robust scholarship program. And we also partner with local community organizations that serve disadvantaged kids and families. So we reserve spots just for kids in those programs, and we reserve spots just for kids on scholarships. You can go to the next slide. And then we hit all these kids in our service area during the school year, but what we really want is for them to keep going outside with their friends and their family. So we have our family and community programs, and we have a really extensive gear library. So this is where we can get gear into the hands of these folks and break down that barrier. So for example, on Saturday, we'll bring our ski trailer up to the mesa where there's a popular groomed cross-country network of trails, and we'll loan out our cross-country skis for the day. In the summer, we have stand-up paddle boards. We'll bring them to the state park and loan those out. The library rents out our snowshoe fleet, and then we also maintain climbing walls at 2 of the area middle schools, and we have open gym nights. And it's our Pathways program, all leading up to this slide. Yeah, you can advance to the next slide. It's our Pathways program that really makes sure we can do all those things that I was just talking about. So each summer we employ 40 high school aged students and also about 6 college age folks. And they work in a variety of paid positions. So we have the college age folks are camp leads, and then we have high school camp counselors. Excuse me. We have bike technicians, as I mentioned, who maintain our fleet of bikes. They also teach bike maintenance workshops at the libraries. We have climbing assistants who help support those climbing programs I mentioned, as well as helping with our climbing focused summer camps. Our water sports interns are the one kind of managing this like rental shop of stand-up paddle boards we have at the state park. We have media interns who document all this work so that we can have PowerPoints like this. They manage our social media accounts because I'm too old to know how to do that. They make flyers in Canva for us. And then they're also getting video, and we've used their work to submit for different grants. And then we have our Wilder Bunch Trail crew, which I'll speak a little bit more about, but they're maintaining and creating a lot of these trails and making these spaces outside accessible. And then we also have what we call the Healthy Forest crew, and they partner with the U.S. Forest Service. And it's a real field-based, science-based program where they're helping with various rangers and science projects. And we couldn't do any of this work without partnerships. So we partner with local, federal, and state land agencies, the U.S. Forest Service, BLM, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, as well as local businesses. So our local bike shop is mentoring and training our bike techs. The local river guiding company is mentoring and training our water sports interns and our counselors. And one of the perks of being a Pathways intern is you get access to all of our gear. So we're always pleased that they want to borrow our backpacks and camping gear on the weekends or stand-up paddle boards. And then, as Goal mentioned, tons of robust training. So we kick off the summer with a week-long orientation where they're earning their wilderness first aid, which is a 16-hour course, and it's, you know, a real standard entry-level foundational requirement in the industry. And we pay them to do that. And if they do it, then we pay them an extra quarter per hour. So we really incentivize getting these kinds of trainings. And then we're also providing them basic job skills like how to text your supervisor or email your supervisor, how to search for jobs, how to plan and prepare an outdoor trip that you want to go on with your friends in the backcountry. And we've learned that we can't front load that information that first week, so we really spread it out throughout the summer. And that's also an opportunity to create this peer community amongst them. So, as Mary was mentioning, we see value in paying them to go on a rafting trip. And maybe we'll talk about backcountry preparation during it. But there's that community, which is a hugely important piece for us as well. And you can see some of the testimonials here. Interns mentioning that, the position helped them get off the phone, the position helped them feel included and welcomed. And it's because of this success that we've actually launched a school day equivalent, and we're calling that Nature Connection Academy. And that's with our more flexible high schools. So we have a couple like choice alternative schools, and for one day, one full day, they're taking out of school to go on these field-based programs. So for example, they went to the local ski resort and they learn about what positions are available there. And then places. So this is the work that we do to actually create physical spaces for the community to recreate. And this is led by our Wilder Bunch trail crew. And just this last summer alone, they maintained or built 55 miles of trail. So we work with all the municipalities that we serve, the recreation districts, the county, and then those federal and state land agencies. And there's about 10 kids on this crew. They're trained in best practices of trail building. They have a crew leader. And usually we always have a short list of trails that need work, but inevitably with spring flooding or things like that, projects come up. There's no shortage of work. And in addition to working on trails, they're also planting native plants and trees. And yeah, that's sort of the three-legged stool that keeps all this moving forward. So I
Thank
think
you,
if
Jess. I
there's any
appreciate it.
questions.
Thank you so much. Uh, on the website, as I was looking for just more information on the Nature Connection, I really love that you had this this line that says that you've been able to develop a curiosity for nature and a love for exploring the best backyard in the world. And it's looking at these images, it's just it shows that, and it's just thank you so much for doing the work that you're doing to impact children and their families and youth as well. All right. We have some time here for Q&A, and I saw some questions come in. This can be answered by any one of our speakers. And so this first one comes from Ashley Richardson. So in my community, a lot of youth workforce work was funded by ARPA dollars, which, as we know, is coming to an end soon. I know every locality is struggling with tight budgets. Are there any innovative financial ideas that communities are piloting or would recommend? An example, any local fees, permits, licenses, impact fees that are being redirected to sustain youth workforce or recreation programs.
I can start. So we do charge fees for our summer camps, and those fees pay for our camp leads, who are those college-age folks. Our high school interns, we write grants for that, mostly state grants. And then this summer we're working with our local workforce office, and if some of our employees meet certain criteria, or their family does, they'll be able to offset the cost of their salary. So that's how we have been funding it so far.
All right. Any other thoughts on that before we go to the next question?
I can share, Jess kind of mentioned it, working with local businesses. There's another Generation Wild community that's really leaning into that, where those businesses are already planning on hiring, or they need to be able to hire, especially in those higher seasonal times. And so, being able to already use that budgeted money that business would use to hire someone, but the Generation Wild community providing the connections and the access to the youth, and also providing those businesses trainings or support in working with those youth, to make sure it's a good, beneficial relationship.
Okay, thank you. We had another question in the chat. Caroline is asking, are all the programmatic elements for the Nature Connection funded by GOCO Gen Wild grants?
No, we get a lot of other grants as well. I mean, GOCO Gen Wild is certainly our largest supporter, but we were able to get an OREC grant from the state of Colorado for the past couple of years that's largely funded our Pathways programs. We also get funding from CPW, which funds our Wilder Bunch Trail crew. CPW is Colorado Parks and Wildlife. I'm just scanning my brain. I'd say those are our two biggest funders for Pathways. And then we also get like regional foundational grants to support other programmatic costs.
Right. We do have some time for another question or two if anyone has any. Just give a moment to see if anyone would want to share something in the chat or even get off of mute and ask as well.
I'll ask live here if it's all right.
Of course.
My name is Martin Ogle, and I live up in Louisville near Lafayette, where there's another big GOCO project that's taken place over a long period of time. But I'm wondering if any of the programs that you know of or that you've talked about today have a component of it that talks about other careers, not just kind of careers in the outdoors, careers that are quote unquote environmental careers. Because the same experiences that we have in the outdoors that give us the insights and some of the skills to do those outdoor programs are really what we need to apply to the whole economy, especially now. And so I'm just wondering what might be out there already.
I can share kind of what we do to try and bridge that learning, I guess you could say. We do kind of a closing day at the end of our 6-week program, and we do some resume building and talk about what a transferable skill is and identify what those might look like, and how your experience could then translate to some of your other career goals. Because I agree, like not a lot of our kids are set on like, okay, I definitely want to go into outdoor education or into a guiding job. They often have different job goals and different needs for their career path. So I think we try and bridge that learning gap of like, okay, let's transfer what you've learned and how to communicate it in a more broad sense on your resume. So we do a little bit of workshopping with students on that.
Thanks.
Thank you. And then we're a little bit short on time, but I do want to see if we can quickly answer this last one from Lee. A question was, how many years have your programs been operating? And was there an initial pilot at each county or site?
Maybe Chris, you want to actually answer this one?
Sure, I'll take this. Yeah, the Generation Wild movement, you started back in 2015, which was when the original communities applied for planning dollars, to be able to undergo about a year of planning and community engagement, and then kicked off their programmatic work in 2016, 2017 was when those awards happened. So these communities have been working for almost 10 years now. The programs have probably been, 7 to 8 full years, But as we've seen with Get Outdoors Leadville, kids that were 6 are now 16. We'll raise Brian's hand that I remember him being on the Youth Advisory Council of the original grant that Leadville applied for. And now he's leading the whole movement for Leadville, which is really exciting. So definitely it does take some planning, but many of these groups were already starting to come together and collaborate even prior to the Generation Wild work. And I think that's what excites us so much of the overlap of the Children in Nature Network, Nature Everywhere communities, is that inspiration for different collaborative groups, local government, schools, nonprofit organizations to come together to see how they can reduce barriers to nature access in their communities.
All right. Thank you all for answering those questions. And yeah, I'm just excited. I always love these calls because we just get to hear about everybody's opportunities, their programs, how they're serving the community, and not everybody is going to be doing this same work. You saw in the poll that people have a variety of programs available to them, and some that they might not even be aware of. So I'm glad that we had these folks on this call today to kind of give you some inspiration and maybe pursue some of this work in your community. So thank you, Mary, Chris, and Jess, for sharing some of that with us today. And we'd love to share a little bit more about how you can be recognized for doing some of this work as well. All right, so as we wrap up, I just want to share a few details about the Action Challenge. So the Children in Nature Network has Nature Everywhere Communities Initiative, and you can join and become a Nature Everywhere community through the Action Challenge. So say, for example, there is a nonprofit or organization that's already doing some of this work, like what we've heard today, youth employment opportunities, mentorship, nature, summer or after school programs. You can get recognized pretty quickly through the Action Challenge. What it does is it celebrates and recognizes communities' progress in increasing nature connection for all children, especially children of color who are experiencing poverty or other groups that have been historically excluded from nature-based experiences. So we define community. People think about community. I had a couple emails come in today. I'm not sure if I'm a community because I'm a statewide organization or I'm a regional wide organization. So we define community as a geographic area such as a city, a county, a neighborhood, a state, or a regional group or organization that's working to enhance the health and well-being of children. So what is a cross-sector team? You need to form a 3-person cross-sector team. Ideal teams include members from more than one organization or government department. So that can be a city department, that can be a community organization, that could be a school district, or other partners that are doing this work to connect children to nature. So if you already have experiences with that, or you're working with an organization that's doing this work and they might want to be a part of this experience or this initiative, definitely click on that link that's in the chat, or I'm going to send this over to you as a recording and you'll be able to look at that link as well. And all you have to do is register. The registration form is very simple. You just have to let us know who's on your team and kind of what's your, why do you want to be a part of this initiative? It's very simple. It comes to me. I wish I could automate it and make it even easier for you, but I want to make sure that I have that connection with you. We talk one-on-one if we need to, and I can support you through the process. So it may take me a few days to respond if you do have any questions. So what are the benefits? Why would you join us on the Action Challenge and be a part of our communities? So you get to work at your own pace. We know that your schedules are filled with your career, your families, and other commitments. The Action Challenge really allows you the freedom to go at your own pace. There are 10 actions that we're looking for people to do. We don't expect people to do all 10. We'd love people to do at least 2 so they can get recognized on our map and in our newsletters and things like that. But doing those things at your own pace, right? Not everybody is going to have the same time, the same connections, the same budget and availability for this. So, it's open to you and really how deeply you'd like to engage. Recognition and promotional materials are available. So based on the actions you complete, you can get added to our Nature Everywhere Communities map, where people can click, very similar to what we saw earlier from GOCO, and you can see kind of what community is where and what they're doing and how they're focused in their community and what they're supporting their community with. A news feature. We also support in drafting a press release if you'd like to be put into some of your local news or even some national news. We also support in designing a street sign or a banner. So if you have events that you go to, you want an event banner, we can help you design that. Or if you put in a nature play feature in your park and you want to just share it with people, what partners you worked with, what youth was working with you when you designed this, we can help you design that as well. There's also an opportunity to be connected to our communities. And so exchanging resources, contacts, tips through our monthly lunch and learns. So that's an open space where people connect that do this work and share resources. We have people from Austin, Seattle, from Washington, from Colorado. There's people from all over the country that are doing this work that just want to connect and share ideas. So that's an option. And then we have these calls just like this every 2 months, where we can share resources and talk about maybe a tool or share some community stories, and it'll help you in the process of on your action challenge. Another resource that we have available is that anyone who registers for the Action Challenge has access to these equity maps. And what that means is we have layers for place-based access, which means that there's a layer here that estimates areas lacking quality of play spaces. There's also a layer that is about nature access. So Nature Quant's nature score measures the amount and quality of nature that's in the area. And then the child population. What does the US Census say about where the percentage of children are in your specific area? The darker the area, the higher need, right? So the more that area needs support, and that's where you may want to focus. And this is something that's available to all communities. If you already have some mapping data and you want to throw this onto that, we can provide that. Or if you'd like to add some information to this map and you have it available, we can throw that on there as well. And there are also just additional resources. So on our site right now available is resources to building a cross-sector team, landscape scanning, community engagement guide. There's advancing equity. There's a ton of guides, case studies, community examples. We can help you out even before you register, and that's available to you now and also to any team that might be interested. All right. So what's next? So if you like this information and if you'd like to learn more, you can email me. My email's here on the screen, and it's also should be in the chat. You can register for the Action Challenge, which I think was also listed in the chat as well. And you can start to receive those resources within a few days. And if there's a chance that you've done this work, you could be recognized pretty quickly because I'm also the person that puts you on our map. So just sharing that story with me, or even asking, hey, do you know anybody in my area that's doing this that I can partner with? Don't be afraid to contact me if you have any questions about this experience and how to join us. All right. That was a lot of information, and I have 3 minutes left, so I'm going to try my best to get through these last 2 things. This is a survey. Let us know what you thought about this session, maybe the speakers, and what you'd love to learn more about them. Let me know if you want to join the Action Challenge. There's a section in that survey. I can follow up with you directly, set up a meeting, talk to you about this more. Let us know how I did. Let us know how our staff did in putting this together and how the speakers did. I think they did great. That's just my, I may be a little bit biased because I helped them set this up. I just appreciate, and again, thank you, Chris, Mary, Brian, and Jess for joining us, sharing your stories, and sharing all those images, because I love seeing people's faces and the smiles and the paths that people take to get to doing this work. So if you have a chance, You can scan this QR code to do a survey on your phone. It's 4 quick questions, or you can click on the link in the chat and let us know what you thought about this session. I appreciate all of you all for being in the chat, sharing your location, kind of where you're joining us from, sharing some of these questions, engaging with us in the poll, and just being here to do this work. I think that we need to continue to build community, especially during these times, and really be inspired by others doing this work. Don't sit in your own mind at your office or at home and thinking about some of those harder things that you're going through right now. Definitely reach out to anybody in this space that may have shared their email, or reach out to me and see if there's anything I can do to help. I appreciate you. We will be sticking around here for another minute or two, so you can grab any links in the chat. And one last thing, I want to say thank you to everybody for being here, and our speakers and our staff. And that's all I got for you. And I got it done at 4:59. I don't even know how we just did that. 40 slides in an hour. It's crazy. I think it's record breaking to me. Thank you so much, guys.